Hello and welcome back to Season 2 of The Dairy Trail. I'm Hugh Harney, Technical Dairy Specialist for Agriland, and I'm going out to different farms across the country to see what's going on the farm each week. So, for this week's episode, we took the trip out to the farm of Mike Clohessy in Fedamore, County Limerick. Mike is milking 75 black and white cows on one Lely A4 robot. Mike has a strict breeding routine in play, and this is paving the way for high solids and a good work-life balance. Mike also has a full-time job off-farm as the director of the genetic company Bullwise, and is able to manage dairy farming with his job with the help of the robot. So we've made the trip down to Limerick now to the farm of Mike Clohessy. Mike is milking 75 cows here on one Lely robot. So Mike, do you want to just give us a quick run through of the farm system here and kind of what you're trying to achieve here on the farm?
Yeah, I suppose we're milking 75 black and white Frisian cows. Our aim here is to produce most of our milk off of grass. While our farm would be good and early, we'd have cows out probably around the 1st of February and still out till probably mid-December. We want a good functional cow that produces, decent volumes of milk with high solids.
Yeah, very good. And Mike, I suppose we'll kind of get into that type of cow now because you're probably just at the back end of the breeding season now. So in terms of that kind of cow selection and kind of what way the breeding season went, cow selection, then bull selection, how did that go this year?
Yeah, I suppose we started actually breeding on the 15th of April this year. We just started probably a week earlier. We're looking, I suppose the bulls that we're kind of using here, we're looking for good functional bulls with good type. We've actually increased the volume of milk that we're looking for. We want, probably our aim here is to produce 600 kilos of milk solids off a 600 kilo cow. The type of cow, we've probably went for a lot of daughter-proven bulls this year. From the point of view of, we're looking for cows with more capacity, more chest width, good strength and good body depth.
Right, and I suppose you're a new entrant into milking, so you're obviously a new entrant in 2018, I'm right in saying. And I suppose what kind of cow did you kind of originally start off with, and how have you been trying to improve that kind of year on year, I suppose?
Yeah, I suppose when we came in, we had we looked at the herds that we were buying from. We were looking that they were actually delivering the kilos of milk solids with good functional cows. We were lucky in the sense we bought from probably 3 herds. We're milk testing, disease levels and so on are quite good here. We're looking, again, I suppose, the type of cow we've probably, coming with a base of high EBI, we were probably in the top 10% on EBI. We still want this functional cow, but we want now our breeding goals and objectives, but to be breeding a cow with higher milk volume with higher solids.
Right. I suppose your cow size, you were saying earlier, was about 560, 570 kilos. Live weight. So I suppose is that the type of cow you want, or do you want to go probably that bit more bigger because you're talking about kind of a more capacious cow? So in that regard, what way are you thinking there, Mike?
Yeah, I suppose we'd look at efficiencies in the cows, and the big thing we'd look at is, if you have a cow 560, she should be delivering 560 kilos of milk solids. Ideally we're looking for a bigger cow. We're looking for maybe a stronger cow doing 600 kilos of milk solids. We're never going to be a large herd here. So we're trying to maximize what we can from grass, do you know what I mean, and from the ground we have.
Yeah, very good. I suppose, so you started breeding season this year, was it before, kind of in the middle of April, was it, Mike?
Yeah. So we started breeding the 15th of April. We actually done about 15 days of sexed, but we would have been very selective with the cows we bred. We used a lot of beef as well, Angus, Hereford, small bit of Speckled Park. So generally we looked at a panel of bulls here, that gave us, I suppose, we were looking for bulls with up in 250 and over and kilos of milk.
Yeah.
We're looking for bulls, north of 30 kilos of solids with as high a percentages as we could get.
Right, very good. And I suppose from that, for that cow selection then, because you're saying you're, 15 days, so you're obviously quite selective on your cow selection as well. So what cows were you looking at? Was it from milk recording reports, or are you looking at kind of their figures, EBI figures, or what way are you looking at that, Mike?
I suppose we'd look at all the figures, but it's the cows that are delivering. And I suppose, look, I'd go back to the older cows we started with here. They were, the more mature cows, they were some of the best cows that we'd had. Real deep bodied cows. We looked, we wanted to breed off of some of them older cows as well. And sex semen was used on all those cows. We did use we continued using a small bit of conventional semen. And then after 6 weeks, we used all beef.
Right, very good. And I suppose for your heifers then out in the paddocks, then were they synchronized, or what way were they done?
Yeah, so we done the cedar program on the heifers.
Yeah.
With 24 heifers, we basically done that cedar program, and then we followed up. We done we inseminated all those heifers at sex semen. We then went on and we done a second round. We done put scratch cards in the heifers, and we done a second round of AI. Those heifers were scanned, so it was, there was 18 heifers had held the first service, and the other 6 were done a second time, and then finished up with an Angus bull.
Okay, very good. And for the cows, you've finished up breeding now, have you?
Yeah, we just finished breeding there. We went on a small bit longer than we'd like, but I suppose we'd look at, from the point of view of the value of in-calf cows, we kept going there for an extra week or 10 days. But yeah, generally we'd be finished by now, yeah.
I suppose looking out in the field, and we're just beside the Lely robot now as well. The cows have the collars on as well, the Lely collars. So in terms of heat detection and health monitoring, what way is that a serious help when it comes to the breeding season, Mike?
Yeah, they would. We've it's an EDAP collar that's actually on the cows.
Yeah.
From the point of view of health, I'd say it's massive. Even in the springtime there, from the point of view of rumination, and cow health, it will spot cows off form, the AI, yeah, look, we would be finding that the heat detection is massive on it, and I suppose we would breed the cows in a short space of time. We would have done the preheats with it, so we'd have a fair handle on the cows, and it has been very accurate to date, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of that sex semen and getting the timing right, obviously it's a product that's the handling is quite difficult at times, and to get that conception rate, you have to be quick with it and on time, pinpoint that. So in terms of that, you're happy enough the way the collars do that for you?
Yeah, look, we'd be, as I say, we're aiming to inseminate those cows that ladder in the heat, and that helps us. It's a great tool in identifying those cows, Also, the robot is drafting the cows here into a paddock at the back of the house. So, do you know what I mean? We've a good eye on the cows there, and we'll inseminate the cows accordingly then, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, Mike, and I'll just go on to, obviously, so you made the kind of transition into dairy in 2018. So obviously you were suckler farming before that, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I suppose just what was the kind of the thinking behind getting into dairy first of all, and then to obviously make the decision to go for the robot which you have now?
Yeah, I suppose in 2018 we had, or 2017, and before that we had mainly pedigree limousines here, crossing those with a lot of Belgian blues and hitting for the export market, and it's something that that hit a stumbling block back then. I suppose the margins are tight. We looked at something here that we the system on the farm that we could grow. My wife was involved, Jenny, and our 3 kids. So from the point of view of robot farming, it is a leisurely way of life. The big jobs every day is changing wires and so on.
Yeah.
We don't run stock bulls here with the cows. So from the point of view of safety, health and safety, the kids can change the wires or help them, open gaps and so on, to move the cows on. So from that point of view, if we looked at it as a lifestyle change as well,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? But I suppose at the end of the day, dairying was the only gig in town, and we kind of looked at it that way at the time.
Right. And was a herringbone milking parlour ever an option, or was it, if you're getting into it, you're going to get this simplified system that you have now, and that was it?
Yeah, I suppose we converted, and if you look at the big capital costs here were probably the robot. From after that, it was a conversion. So the robot fitted here into the slatted unit with a layback area, and there was very little work that had to be done. We did have to do slurry storage and so on after that.
Yeah.
But to get up and running and get milking, our layout was quite low after the putting in the robot. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose just tell us a bit about kind of the labour then on the farm and that kind of time off piece. Because I suppose like you've three young people on the farm as well that are interested, and they may come farming or they may not. But in terms of that kind of even that generational renewal piece, and making it kind of a lifestyle that is worth doing.
Yeah.
Dairy farming is the robot. How have you found that, Mike?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, I don't think we would have went back. We actually looked at, from the point of view of putting in a milk comparator here, collecting the yard, and so on, and all the cost. The robot was the way to go.
Yeah.
From the point of view of the kids, technology is the way forward, and I think the kids were all able to embrace that. So whether it was me here in the yard, I could be here in the morning. I didn't have to be back in the afternoon and so on. I wasn't tied to the yard. And all the lads here would be able to give a hand at certain time, whether it was after school or so on, or before they started in the morning. So yeah, it became, do you know what I mean? It's more of a family farm, I think, than big business,
Yeah, and I suppose in terms of that kind of time off and the kind of work around the robot, are you still somewhat tied to the robot, or can you go off, let's say, for a weekend or to a wedding or something, and not have to worry about it, or someone have to be on standby? What way does the robot work that way?
Yeah, I suppose at this stage, do you know what I mean? The kids are at an age now. The oldest is Jean is 20, Mark is 19, and Kate is 14. So, from the point of view of there's always someone around.
Yeah.
We would have had casual labour here to give a hand when we're away, and we still have, if needs be. So yeah, you can go away for the day, do you know what I mean? And have your stuff done in the morning, and have your wires laid out for the evening. It is a system. I think the big thing here is, it's you do the work when it suits you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So you're not tied to certain times here in the yard.
Yeah. And I suppose that you keep going back to the wires and stuff. So I suppose in order for this system to work, your ABC grazing and your ABC system, plays a crucial role. Number one, to get the cows into the milking machine, and for obviously their diet and keep milk performance up. So in terms of that grazing management, how have you found that kind of transition? Obviously from a suckler herd to that kind of intensive kind of grazing and setting up wires and so on. Like,
yeah, I suppose. Look, I'd find that the robot would actually keep you on your toes. From the point of view of growing the right amount of grass, and keeping the right type of grass in front of the cows. That's what keeps the cows moving. Even pointed down to the length of the blocks. We generally would go maybe, we can go from 2 10s and a 4, or 3 8s, 3 8-hour blocks. Generally it all depends on grass growth rates here on the farm.
Yeah.
And we'll move those accordingly to keep good cow movement.
Yeah, but I'd be right in saying that the robot and the system that it kind of comes with, it has kind of improved your grassland management in a way that you kind of have to be on the ball, otherwise it won't work.
Yeah, it won't. Like, I mean, you have to grow the right type of grass. Grass covers have to be right. Cows will move. Do you know what I mean? They need to graze out covers as well to get cows hungry to move and so on. So from that point of view, yeah, it'd keep you real sharp, on grass.
And then in terms of that grass growth at the minute, and that kind of what cows are going into at the minute, how has performance been for the cows at the minute? Are they performing well, Mike, or what way is that looking?
Yeah, sure. We're still holding just on 24 litres and 3 kilos a meal. So cows, from that point of view, we've cows calved there now since probably the 20th of January. So we'd be quite happy where we're at the minute. Solids have improved this year. We're on probably 374 protein, about 420 fat. Cell counts are good. So overall, cows are delivering this year.
Yeah. And then the target for this year in terms of milk solids or liters, what way are you kind of looking that way?
Yeah, we'd still be we'd be aiming there for probably, we'd hopefully hit about 6,400 liters. Do you know what I mean? Would ending up probably about 365 protein is where we'd be. But yeah, we'd hope to aim probably 25 kilos of milk solids again this year.
Yeah, I suppose what the robot does offer you then, Mike, is a chance to maybe do a bit off farm as well. So obviously you have a job off farm, and obviously your passion and love is for cows. So do you want to maybe just talk about how you manage that one, Mike?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, I've worked in the industry for the last 30 years now. In 2023, myself and 2 colleagues, we actually started up a company, Bullwise, whereby we brought in all the semen we're probably the sole agents for the semen from Holland for CRV. They also have a sister company in New Zealand as well. So we have genetics that can be got from, the Dutch genetics, New Zealand genetics, and North American bloodlines as well. Yeah.
Very good. And you find, obviously, working with the robot and farm, it works well, does it?
Yeah, I suppose, look, from the point of view of, the flexibility with the robot, I suppose my family are here as well to back me up. So they're here on my wife is here full time as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the time, I know it's the season of the job, but yeah, I would be on the road most of the year, yeah.
Right. And I suppose then the plan for the future then, Mike, is it to stick at cow numbers and kind of consolidate what you have now? Or are you kind of looking at it at a bit of an expansion yourself, or what way is that kind of working? Because you were telling me earlier that there is a bit of land here, and there is an option to kind of maybe go a bit further if you wanted to. What way are you thinking that way?
Yeah, I suppose what we'd be looking at is, whether we go down the road of a second robot here now.
Yeah.
We need a bit more infrastructure, maybe some more land. But the plan would be we wouldn't max out 2 robots. If we can hit, that 600 kilos of milled solids here,
Yeah.
Delivered, that would be the system we'd go with. And whether that's, we wouldn't max out the 2 robots. We'd probably leave enough free time on the robots so the cows can perform well on it.
Okay. And I suppose to get to that 600 kilos, then you are kind of talking about using those CRV bulls as much as you can, and trying to get that your kind of genetic variation in the herd, drive on genetic gain a bit more. Is that what you're kind of looking at, Mike?
Yeah, I suppose what we felt here, and we've spoken to a lot of farmers in Ireland, whereby we're looking for cows now with more capacity,
Yeah.
more chest width, medium-sized cows. I'd emphasize that, we don't want tall cows. We want medium-sized cows, wide in the chest, deep in the body, with functional cows that can eat a lot of grass, and convert. We feel that, I'd feel some of our cows have historically gone a bit narrow and light. And we just feel that the Dutch offering, they have bulls even from New Zealand, and we'd look at bull mothers delivering over 650 kilos of milled solids. Wide in capacity. Capacity is a big figure that they talk about in New Zealand, and I don't think it's actually mentioned here in EBI. We want cows, deep-bodied cows, that aggressive grazers that can eat a lot of grass and convert into solids, yeah.
Yeah, very good. And Mike, I suppose just kind of going on to more kind of the political EU side of it, the nitrates derogation coming down the line, it looks uncertain that it's going to pass, that we're going to retain our nitrates derogation. Would that have an effect on this farm, or would it just mean that you're going to definitely just stick with your 75 cows and really just push on solids that way?
Yeah, I suppose, look, we've to work with what we have. I suppose land base here would be tight. Do you know what I mean? It'd be a lot of in this area. There'd be a lot of big dairy farms. I suppose we would look at, if you can get right with what you're doing first, and then we drive on. I suppose where we're at the minute, our in-calf heifers are coming in. They're all Dutch bred.
Yeah.
The calves in the ground, would be all CRV bred as well. And I suppose what we'd be looking at is, get all that going right first.
Yeah.
And then we'd be looking at driving on, yeah.
And I suppose just going into the kind of spring calving side of it, when those cows calve down, are the obviously your replacement calves are to stay on the farm, but with those beef bred calves, are they sold off farm straight away, or would you keep on a few of them, Mike?
Yeah, generally we would sell some, but we'd I suppose we've reared on the last 2 years and it's paid, and I suppose we'd look at, all the bulls we're using here would be Bullwise high index, carcass weight bulls. And we've seen there's a niche in the market now for farmers looking for them. So we've reared those on, and we'd hope to have them sold that farm by October.
Okay, yeah, so there's good prices this year, so you may as well try and use them when you can, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I suppose, we've seen the beef sector, do you know what I mean? And, in bull selection now, we've seen now that, our beef bulls are nearly as important now as our dairy bulls. We're looking at beef bulls there that, are converting, with very good figures. We've some very good offerings in Angus now, in Hereford. Belgian Blue, Speckled Park, Limousine, we've actually a bull there, Loyal, exceptionally short gestation,
Yeah.
limousine bull, doing an exceptional job now, and farmers now are probably using nearly more beef semen now than their dairy. So I think it's important there that we have that as an offering.
Yeah, brilliant. And Mike, I suppose just we'll finish up now. I suppose, is there anything now that you're looking on at your cows now and the farm system here? Is there anything that you just maybe short term or long term that you're just hoping to tweak a small bit to maybe drive on performance or allow the younger generation in a small bit? Or I know you were saying that your wife's doing the green cert at the minute, I'm right in saying. So, just in terms of that, what is the kind of outlook, I suppose?
Oh, I suppose, look, we're looking here that we have a viable business going forward, do you know what I mean? And where that will be, we don't know yet, do you know what I mean? With what's coming down the road from Europe and so on. But yeah, we want a profitable cow here in the system, and we feel here that if we have the capabilities of feeding a cow, that she'll respond to that feeding. We'll always be focused on grass, from the point of view of grass will be number one. But if it pays, and milk price is good, if it's in the system there that we can feed extra meal and so on, then our cows will respond to that.
Brilliant. Yeah, look, Mike, I'll leave it there. Look, I want to just thank you very much for coming on to the podcast, and want to wish you the very best of luck for the rest of the season. Hope that the cows keep milking and performing well, and that you hit your targets for the year. Everyone stays safe, and wish yourself and your family the best of luck.
Thanks.
Good man. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks a lot.
So that's all for this week's episode of The Dairy Trail. I'd like to thank our guest, Mike Clohessy, for coming on to the podcast during his busy work schedule, and especially as he was just eyeing up a second cut of silage. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to rate and review or share the podcast with a friend or a fellow farmer. Thank you very much for listening.